Hey everybody, I'm here today to talk to you about 6 tips for making a U-turn while driving. In this video, I'll be going over 6 simple tips that you can use to help you safely and smoothly make a U-turn. Alright, without further ado, let's get right to it. Tip number 1 is to come to a complete stop before starting the U-turn. Now obviously, when people are learning to drive, they would most likely learn to come to a complete stop before starting their U-turn, to pull over and come to a complete stop. But as people have been driving for longer and longer, they get more and more comfortable with doing these things that once made them nervous, like doing a U-turn, and they start to sort of forget about the extra safety precautions. So the reason that you come to a complete stop is number 1, to make sure that you can fully see everything, and number 2, to make sure that you can double check, because obviously, you know, with one check, you're gonna be able to see everything, but how about if you missed something? How about if you missed that car on there that maybe their headlights were burnt out? How about if you missed that pedestrian that was walking, or that cyclist? And that's why you come to a complete stop, so that you could really check everything thoroughly before starting that U-turn. So pull over and come to a complete stop before starting the U-turn. Tip number 2, only make U-turns when it's legal to do so. Now this one sort of seems like common sense, but I've seen many people make U-turns where there's a direct sign right in front of them saying no U-turns. So it's simple. When there's a sign saying no U-turns, or when there's a legal aspect where somewhere you cannot make a U-turn, then obviously it's there for a reason. They don't put these rules and legalities in place for fun. There's a reason why you shouldn't make a U-turn there. Either it's unsafe, or they don't want people to do it because there's an influx of people making U-turns to avoid a certain traffic light or turn, or whatever the case is. But only make U-turns when it's legal to do so. 1, because obviously you want to try and avoid getting a traffic ticket, but number 2, because those rules are there for a reason, and by disobeying the rule and making a U-turn when it's not legal to do so, then obviously, you know, you're breaking the rule, but it's there for a reason. Tip number 3 is to have a good vision or view in front of you and behind you. Now, for instance, you don't want to do a U-turn on an area with a hill that hinders your vision in front of you or behind you. You don't want to do a U-turn when it's foggy outside. You don't want to do a U-turn when there's heavy snow or rain or something that's going to obstruct your view or your vision. So only make a U-turn when it's safe to do so. And in order to determine whether or not it's safe to do so, you have to have a really good amount of vision in front of you and behind you. And that's because to do a U-turn, it takes some time, and you are going across lanes of potential traffic, so you want to make sure that you are going to be avoiding a potential accident at all costs, okay? Tip number 4, sometimes there are other options. So sometimes if you can't make a U-turn because it's unsafe to do so, or because it's illegal to do so, there are other options, okay? So there are other ways to turn your car around. First and foremost, if I'm driving straight, if you can picture this, I can make a left onto another street, then I can turn around on that street, let's say like a 3-point turn, and when I come off that street, I make a right. And then I've basically, gone the other way. So if I'm driving down this street, I make a left, turn around here, let's say with a 3-point turn, and then come back and make a right. And I've turned around essentially, but I haven't done a U-turn. So there are other ways around it. And I'm not talking about the legal aspect of it. You have to assess that for yourself wherever you live and with regards to your driving and so forth. I'm talking about, like, if you can't make a U-turn because it's unsafe to do so, because it's, for whatever reason, there are other things that you can do. Or just take a detour. It's as simple as that, okay? Never make a U-turn if it's unsafe to do so. You can use other options, like, turn your car around in another way on another street, use a parking lot to turn around, or take a detour, take different streets, whatever the case is. There are other options. That's the point of this tip. Tip number 5, when you are doing the U-turn, turn the wheel all the way. And that is simply because you want to get as tight of a turning radius as possible. And then if your turning radius is too tight, you can always release the wheel a little bit. But if your turning radius isn't tight enough because you didn't turn the wheel all the way and you try and correct it, you're limited because your wheel locks when it gets turned all the way. So you can't turn more than the lock, than full turn, but you can release it a little bit earlier. It's easier to release the wheel earlier and give back a little bit of that turning radius than it is to try and take more than you can possibly take. It's as simple as that. Last but not least, the last tip for this video is tip number 6. And that is perform all of the safety procedures. So there are many safety procedures, things such as, but not limited to, checking your mirrors, putting on your signal, checking your blind spots, looking all around the car, looking all the way in front of the car, looking all the way behind the car, looking for pedestrians, looking for cyclists, looking for obstructions, looking for traffic, and so forth. There are many safety procedures. Use as many safety procedures as you possibly can to make sure that you are making a U-turn in a safe manner. It's as simple as that. Those safety procedures are there to allow you to make a U-turn safely, okay, to give you the best chance at making a U-turn safely, so use them to your advantage. And that's basically it. In this video, I've gone over 6 tips for making a U-turn while driving. If you like the video, be sure to give it a thumbs up. Let me know what you think down below as a comment. What are some other tips for safely making a U-turn while driving? Let me know down below as a comment. And of course, be sure to subscribe for more great car and driving videos just like this one. And that's all I have for you today. Thanks for watching.